Hello, Internet. This is Jeff, checking in with my weekly video blog here. This was a pretty good week for me. I got my Part 107 license. Well, actually, I took the test. I passed it, and I am actually waiting on my temporary number from the FAA now. The status is the test was submitted to the Airman's Registry, so I'm just waiting. It said it could take up to 5 days to get that. So once that appears, I will have my license number and I can actually claim to be a licensed pilot legit. When I took the test, right away I got hit with lots of questions on the sectional charts. So many charts. If you're going to take the exam coming up, be sure to study the charts. It's not that hard. I found most of the answers, like everyone says, are in the legend. If you know how to read the charts, if you studied it a little bit beforehand, you should do pretty good with it. They give you a copy of the book with all the sectional charts in it. I bought a study guide from Amazon for about $30. And it came with a book with a whole bunch of questions on it. A lot of the questions were actually on the test, so it was very helpful to read that. The theories in the book were dead on, but they also give you a copy of the book that has all the sectional charts and the METAR weather reports, all that, so you can really study that in depth before you actually take the test. So having your own copy of that, I would say that was money well spent. I did not buy any of the online study courses. Some of those I saw cost more than the actual test itself, and I'm sure they're helpful, but I studied for about 4 days. I decided that I would just dive into it, take the test, give myself a few days to study, and that way I had no excuses. I didn't put it off. I will tend to take as long as I have to do something. So by only giving myself 4 days, that forced me to really knuckle down, study the book. Even the night before, I was going over questions with a highlighter, and I just highlighted all the correct answers in the book. And then the next morning, when I got up before I went to the test, I went over the entire book one last time and got everything fresh in my mind. And that seemed to do it pretty well. I passed with an 80%. You only needed 70 to get a passing grade. I would have liked to have done better, but I will take what I got. That's fine. One thing I was disappointed in is that they gave me a listing of the questions that I got wrong, just like the numbers. And they gave these numbered codes and said, you can go online and enter this web address and go here and see the questions that you got wrong. But all it shows you that I could find was the category of the questions. It didn't give me what the actual questions were and what the correct answers were. So I don't really know what I got wrong and what I needed to work on, which is, I thought, disappointing. But it's not that it matters now, because I passed the test and it's submitted and I'm waiting on my license number. But I would have liked to have known what areas I needed improvement in, and I don't get that from them. So that's kind of disappointing. They seem to be working very hard to keep all the questions secret, but the book I got had a lot of the questions that were on the test in the book. And a lot of these videos that you watch online, the Tony Northrop, so many others that really were helpful, they had a lot of the questions too. So it's not like they're a big secret. It's all information that's out there. But I think it's kind of a disservice to not let the person know what they got wrong so that they can make up that last little bit, for themselves, for their own knowledge. But it's done, and hopefully in the next 2 months I'll get my actual physical card in the mail. I want to have that in my pocket when I fly at all times. I've never been approached by anyone all the times that I've flown out in parks or parking lots somewhere, but that's always a possibility. So I want to have that information that just, I think, gives you a little more trustworthiness when someone, especially law enforcement approaches you. You've got that extra little bit of legitimacy that you can show them. So let's see. There were questions on the test about remote ID and night flying, which were not in the book because those were updated in April of this year, 2021. I'm recording this in June. So there were some questions relating to remote ID and night flying. The night flying I had down pretty good. The remote ID, it was asking me questions about transferring an ID code from one drone to another, what the procedures were, and I hadn't seen any of that information. So I just made a guess, and I don't know if I got it right or not because I can't see if that was one of the questions I got wrong. But remote ID is not even active yet. I think it's another year and a half away before it does, 2023. So, yeah, there were questions on the test for things that don't exist yet. So it's strange. It's how the FAA does things. A lot of these charts and weather reports, METAR and TAF, I think, those are things that I will probably never look at again. Now that we have apps that have all this great weather data and the apps that show all this great location data and how high you can fly and where you can and can't fly, there's not really a whole lot of need to look at these charts. And a lot of the data you see comes from years past when they didn't have GPS and even being able to tell the distance from the ground level. A lot of stuff is above sea level, so it's a lot of kind of outdated material, but it does give you a glimpse into the world of the FAA and manned pilots, how they fly. So it was helpful. It was useful to see all that and get an insight into who you're sharing airspace with. So I wouldn't say it's a waste, but it's a lot of things that now that I've passed the test, I don't have to look at that stuff anymore. So I'm not planning to. So then I had the question of, well, what do I do now? I hadn't really given much thought into what I would do after I got my license. I didn't want to start planning out things and then fail the test and feel stupid for having to scrap all those plans. So I didn't really think of anything until after I got my license. I took a day and just kind of relaxed after cramming for all the testing. Just took a day off and cleared my mind, and then the next day I kind of rethought things. I updated my website, some information on it now that I can advertise commercially and license my footage and photos. I'm going to try to do some of that. I ordered some business cards, so if someone approaches me or I hear of an opportunity, or I'll have something in my pocket that I can hand out with my information on it. I'm not looking to make a second job of this. I'm happy with my day gig I've got. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that or cut into that. But I would like to fly drones and make a little extra money to help pay for some drones and have a little extra income. I'm looking at better drones, which get into some expense, and having them be able to pay for themselves a little bit would be fantastic. So I'm looking at if I could find some work doing a couple of real estate shoots here and there over a month, doing some inspections of something, towers, buildings. I also got some good ideas off of some other YouTube creators. One guy had said film city reels. Just go around your city and film some landmark areas and locations and put together a nice clip over, a couple of minutes worth of footage and put it on YouTube and offer to, if anyone wants to license it, put your contact info in there and offer it for a decent price. I'm looking at uploading some material to some of the clip art sites like Adobe Stock and Shutterstock. I've got accounts on there and had sold some of my graphic design work before. Not that much, but it's very difficult to really make a good living on there. It's kind of some good residual income. It can be if you have a lot of content and content that's good, but it's not anything I think you're going to make a living off of because the sites take so much of the percentage of it. You get very little, so it's a couple bucks here and there, but not enough to really make a living on. So offering the footage and photos directly yourself on things like YouTube and having clients be able to contact you directly, I think is a more likely scenario. So I'm thinking of some local businesses, taking some nice shots of some of the living in Daytona Beach. There's a lot of resorts around the area and hotels, places that may not so much think they can afford some aerial footage, but if you had some that you've taken just as kind of practice shots and put it out there, I think that could be a great way to kind of drop it out there and maybe even contact them and say, hey, I've got all these shots. If you'd like them, here's a great price on it. You can have it for use perpetually. Some of the clip art sites allow you to license it for a one-time use. So I think offering it directly, you can offer a better price and give them a little better terms than what some of the clip art sites are offering. So I'm going to try that, a couple things, and just see what works. Like I said, if I make a little money with it, great. If not, that's fine too. I'm doing it just for fun. I certainly wouldn't turn away money if someone offered it to me. No one has so far. So, and all the times I've been doing it as a hobby. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my my journey into this kind of new adventure for me here. I got started back in November of 2019 when the first original Mavic Mini came out. I had been looking at drones, and then when I saw the Mini advertised, I thought, okay, that's going to get me in the door. And that's the journey I've been on. That led me up to getting my license this week. So now I'm looking ahead to what the next steps in my journey will be. This week in the area here, Florida was kind of covered by what they call the Sahara dust layer, the layer of dust and sand that has drifted over from the Sahara Desert. And it doesn't really make much impact on the area other than it gives us some incredible yellows and oranges in the sky in the evenings. So I've had some really cool sunsets and sunrises. I was driving home and I looked over and saw this amazing sunset with all these glorious colors, and I had to hurry. As soon as I got home, I hopped out of the car and put my drone up and grabbed some shots of the sunrise, did some panoramas, and it was just amazing. So I got some great looks. It's been very cloudy and overcast all week. Rained quite a bit, so I didn't have any opportunity to do much flying, but it had cleared up in the evenings, and we had a neat sunset for a couple days, so I popped it up and got some neat shots. I also did a little bit of testing on a new ND filter set that I got for it was 6 filters, and I haven't had a chance to try them out in direct sunlight because we've not had a whole lot of direct sunlight, but the next opportunity I have to put it up and get some shots. I want to do some video and some still photos, just trying out the different filters and comparing them side by side. There's a couple of different levels of ND, and then one that gives a little better color grading I found on the raw image. So I'm trying out that and pretty happy with what I've got so far. They're real easy to use. They pop on and off quickly, and they were pretty cheap. I think it was like $15-20 for the set. I also got tired of getting copyright strikes for the music I put in the backgrounds of the videos. I had used some stuff out of Adobe Premiere, but it's stuff that comes from Adobe stock, and they want you to pay for the license, so you get a number to plug in, and it's pretty expensive. And when your channel is not monetized, it's not really worth it to me at this point to do that. So I'm going to give a stab at recording some of my own music. That should be what's playing below this now. I've got all these guitars, so I'm put a drum track on my iPad and dropped a few of my own sounds in there. So I'm just going to try to record some of my own music to give me some non-copyrighted music that is just my own that I can drop in and have as a music bed behind the scenes. So that's been my week with the drone here, having fun with it and looking forward to seeing where I'm able to take it next. So got some business cards coming in a few days, gonna update the website a little more, trying to do more on social media with it and publicize myself. So we'll see where that goes, but I appreciate you taking the time to look at my channel. If you like what you see here, give me a subscribe, give me a like. I'd appreciate it, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.